everybody, Jen from Scrapping Under the Influence. Today I have a new tutorial for you. Today we are going to take the Simple Stories Say Cheese Classic Pooh card kit and we are going to make it into a small kind of junk journal style project. I know I had talked about this when I did my haul video the other day. I love the Simple Stories card kits. I ended up with 2 of these because I do want to make one of these just into the cards because they are freaking adorable. But I also wanted to do this. So we are going to go through my entire process on this, but let's take a look through the project itself first. So I did just use some seam binding. So like I said, we'll go through the process, but I do take the card fronts somewhat as they are. There are 3 cards in here that are landscape as opposed to portrait, like this one right here is my cover. So I kind of talk through how I alter those so that they fit into my project. You do end up with lots of extra little pieces and parts in these card kits, so we use those throughout the project as well. So it will use 4 of the 8 card bases that are in there, and then I added 4 envelopes that were actually with my December Daily kit because I wasn't going to make the cards that were part of the December Daily. So because we're using the envelopes, we've got 4 pockets in here, and then we've just got our pages. I did mat places where I didn't have a card panel to go on top. I did mat with the 6x8 pad, which at the moment is currently out. I think she has more on order, but you absolutely, if you've gotten the 12x12 and you've used it for a project, you've got scraps, this is like the ideal project. Typically, if I was doing this, I would have made something else and then made this later on with the scraps in the card kit, but I started with this for a change, so that was a little bit different for me. But so this would be one of the card fronts. This is just some scraps from the 6x8 and some pieces from the card kit that I didn't use. Again, one of the cards that I actually, this guy and this guy were supposed to be on this card, but I was like, I like it like that as like a journaling spot. We've got another pocket there, and just so on and so forth. We could add pictures. I could journal, you know, however I wanted to do it. This was another one of the landscape cards that I ended up trimming this. It worked out way better than I thought it was going to. We've got another pocket here. That one I did not ink. And again, just, you know, continuing on through our book. There's our last pocket, and then there is our back cover. So it's actually super easy to do. You can do as much or as little as you would like. You could add more pages and really make this super chunky. I did stitch my cover. I will show you an alternative to stitching it, as well as showing you how I stitched it. But yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, so to do our little kind of mini junk journal, you're going to start with one of the Simple Stories card kits. In this case, I'm going to use the Say Cheese Classic Pooh. I'm going to do another one with the Simple Vintage Dear Santa because I have that and that was my plan all along. And then I got this one and was like, I have to do it with this too. So we're going to need that, and you're going to need 4 envelopes. Okay. So first thing I want to do, so let's pull this out. So in their kits, they do come with their instruction sheets. You've got your card bases. They do not come with envelopes, which is why I'm telling you, you know, you need envelopes. So we have here, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the card bases. So we're going to set those to the side. And then, of course, you've got your different elements in here for your cards. Okay. So I'm going to set this much aside for now. One thing, and you'll notice here, we've got 3 cards that are turned the opposite way of how we're going to do our our junk journal, which is fine because in most cases we have ways of kind of working around that. The only one I'm slightly concerned about is this one because that element is a little bit wider. I literally just had it. What I do with it? Right here. So this one is, you know, a little bit wider than is going to be ideal. And if we have to trim it, then, you know, that's fine. We will worry about that when we get to that point. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fold my card bases, and in this case, we're not going to use all of them. We're going to use 4 of them. If you wanted to use all of them and supplement some of this, leave some of it blank, supplement some of it with some of the pattern paper, you could do that. I'm going to just use those 4. I may have to add 2 more. I'm trying to remember how I did this last time. But for, excuse me, before we do that, I'm going to take my envelopes, and you're going to slide one flap inside of the other until that crease for the flap touches. Okay. What I'm going to do with that, if I can get my glue to open, is I'm going to put just a little bit, because we want to use these as pockets within our junk journal. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on that flap and then slide it in here until they match up, burnish it down, and then on this back side, we're going to do the same thing with the flap on the back. You don't need a ton of glue, just enough to attach those 2 together. So we're going to do that with both envelopes. So pretty much any envelopes you have in your stash will work for this. You can use bigger ones, you can use, you know, skinny ones, pretty much anything you have on hand. And I think most of us as paper crafters have envelopes on hand. And that one did not go together the way I wanted it to. But that's okay, because we can fix it. That is one thing I will say is I was using some different glue for something the other day. Just kind of testing out some other ones. Basically for that time of year that you can't get the art glitter delivered. And they don't dry nearly as fast or nearly as nicely as the art glitter does. I just gotta say. Okay. All right, so then this is our back flap, like so. Okay. So what I will do is I'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, and then for my front cover, because I don't necessarily, you know what though? Hold on, I may have just solved our problem with that one piece being kind of wide. Not totally. Okay. So you're just going to stack these together, kind of center. The card bases, of course, are going to be slightly smaller than the envelopes. That's absolutely fine. You're just going to kind of center these up and then either sew this together, you can hand stitch it together, you can run it through your sewing machine, you can just take ribbon and run it around the center, however you would like to do that. I think I had some ribbon here, or some seam binding actually, the other day that I think will actually match this really well. What did I do with it? Oh, no, maybe I'm out of that one. Okay, I had a darker one, but that's entirely up to you which way you want to do that. The only other thing I'm going to do before we start figuring out our card front pieces and getting those sorted out is I am going to, shock of shocks, I'm going to ink my edges. And you all know this is not something I do hardly ever. So with something like this, though, I do want to do that. So I'm going to just get a nice kind of brown ink, and I'm just going to go around my card bases. Okay. So, like so, just so those edges aren't so white. We're going to do that on all of these. And I am going to do both front and back. Okay, we're going to do it on the envelopes as well. One thing I did, and only because I've got it set aside from the last one of these I did, is I had taken one of my envelopes and kind of cut it apart so that I had a template to mat the front of these. It's not necessary. You can just mat them straight across. You can mat them shorter. You can not mat them if you don't want to. It's entirely up to you. You can stamp them if you've got stamps. Anything like that you would like to do. So I think, going to, more I'm thinking about this as I'm inking, I think I am going to stitch mine, but I'll show you how you would do it without stitching it before I go stitch mine, and I will record in there to the best of my ability since it is in the other room and the lighting is not nearly as good. How I stitch these together. Okay, and our last piece. Okay. All right. So let me stack that one back in order. So if you're going to do it without stitching it, all you need is either, if you've got elastic cord, if you've got a thinner ribbon, actually would be more ideal. You're just going to get your paper stacked and you're just going to tie around the back. You could tie it on the inside if you wanted to. Sorry, there's like, I'm trying to figure out what the kids are doing out in the other room because they're loud. Okay, so you would just, tie it like so. Of course, obviously tighter than I just did this because I'm not good at this. I'm not good at the tying of the bows, as we all know. Bow challenged. Okay, so I am going to stitch mine, so I will be right back. Okay, so what I've got going on here, I'm sorry I'm doing this with my phone in my office with my sewing machine, so it's going to be kind of weird. I've got them clipped together, lined up the way I want. I just have normal thread in here, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. And I'm going to adjust this so that I don't get going too fast, because that is literally what I end up doing pretty much every time. Now, as far as sewing on paper versus on fabric, when I do fabric, I do switch out to a needle that has not been sewing paper, just so that I'm sure that it's, you know, it hasn't been dulled by sewing through paper, particularly because we're sewing through, you know, a decent sized little stack here. Okay, oops. There we go. And so now we are nice and sewn. I didn't get too far off. Okay, and then we're just going to fold that back over, and we're ready to go. Okay, so this is sewn. Didn't do too terrible of a job. I almost want to fold it back the other direction though, because like my sewing on the inside is like pretty much almost perfect, but we're going to leave it as is. Okay, so I will trim off all of my little threads here. Not a big deal, but okay. So we're going to set this aside for now. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out my card fronts essentially. So I've actually put together lots of these card kits. They're just kind of a fun one for like when you don't want to think too hard about what you're working on. However, I will say I typically don't, with the exception of punching out the base pages, I don't like punch everything out and then try to like dig through it to find the pieces and where they go. What I typically, if I can talk, will do is I'll pop out the base page. There's always going to be a base page. These base pages are the same size as your card front, so 4¼ by 5½. So typical A2 card size. And then I will go back one by one and find all of the elements for a specific card front. That seems to be the easier way to do it. And like I said, I've done lots of these, honestly. I have a whole stash of like these cards like completed that when I just need, you know, last minute something super easy, that's what my go-to is. So, all right. So we've got those, and I'm going to show you one of kind of my process, and then we will kind of speed through the rest. So this is my first one, I think. Let's double check and make sure. The other thing to kind of keep an eye on, so for example, you've got this piece that has a border and this one that doesn't. This card is the piece with the border, okay? This card is the piece without the border, okay? So that's something to kind of keep in mind and pay attention to. And it looks like we've got two of them that have like this solid green as the background, okay? So when we're looking at this, we need this little red check piece. We need little scalloped stitched border piece and the piece right below it. So this one's going to go at the top. This one is going to go on here. And then we've got, oops, Pooh and Piglet with the balloon. Now, I'm sure at this point you're kind of wondering, do I just do these exactly as the card, the directions indicate? Sometimes. It just kind of depends. If I decide, because you're going to have extra elements. I think, I don't know that I've ever done these where I didn't have a whole stack of extra elements, which is partially where I decided at some point to try turning one of these into a junk journal, and it was just fun, and it was just a different way to use these and have a really kind of different project. Okay, so those are all of those little pieces, and then there will usually be at least one of the little chipboard pieces. So these chipboards are not as thick as the normal chipboards. These are a thin chipboard, but it's enough to give you a little bit of dimension on a card. Okay, so that, oh, there's a B. A B, aha, there is a little B, this one right here, that also needs to go on here. I was like, that is a tiny piece. Ah, it's a tiny chipboard piece. Okay, so I've got that one ready to go. I will just slide that one off to the side, and I'll go on to my next one, which is this base right here. And I'll just go ahead and keep pulling all the little pieces and parts together, stacking them together, and then moving them off to the side. Okay. Then once those are done, you'll see kind of what pieces you have left, and we'll start putting this together. Okay, so we have all of our card front pieces sorted out. Okay. All right. So I wouldn't try and change these out just yet. I'll do that typically as I'm putting them into my junk journal. So for now, I'm just going to slide them up along the top of my desk here, out of the way. The only one that's going to be a little bit trickier to try and figure out how we're going to use it is going to be this one. Okay. So I'm going to set that one over that way. We may have to trim that center panel down. I'm not honestly sure, but we have leftovers. So that's what I'm going to do next is go through and pop out all of my leftover pieces. And you're always going to have some extra pieces with these card kits, and it's going to vary like how much you have left. This is probably one of the fewest number of extras I've had, but we still have some really good ones here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop these out and kind of put these off to the side, because then I can get these carrier sheets kind of out of the way. So I've got bees, I've got, you know, the little hearts, I've got flowers, I've got some just kind of plain elements, which is good. Okay. And there. All right, so we got them all off of that one. We only have a couple on these, so I have a thank you, which I don't know that I'll end up using that one, but I might. You never know. And that, and those are done. And then we've got some more little kind of label elements on here. And two, I will say this is something typically, if I'm going to do this, I usually do it after I've made, you know, a couple of other larger projects so that I'm using scraps for anything that I may need some additional matting or anything like that on. See, look at this super cute little stamp one we didn't use. So I typically wouldn't do this as my very first project out the gate with a collection like this, but it's cute and it's easy and I want to do it. And then we actually had a handful of little chipboard pieces left as well. So we've got some hearts, we've got a flower, we've got a couple of bees, and we've got a super cute image of Pooh and Piglet. So, all right, so here's all of our extras. Where's my base? There it is. Okay. So, whoops. So here's our base. Here's our extra cards. I'm just going to set those to the side. I am going to grab my seam binding because I do want to put this around so I have a closure. So all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take some 3/8 inch score tape. I'm going to just kind of center it-ish. Apparently I'm not getting too centered today, but that's okay. I'm not going to run it across the spine. Okay. And I mean, this piece is obviously longer than I need, but that's okay because I'd rather have it be a little bit longer and cut off what I don't need than end up cutting it too short. So we've got that done and out of the way. To keep these out of my way while I'm working, what I'm going to do is get a couple of paper clips. Do I have any normal ones in here? I do. Okay. So I'm just going to take a couple of paper clips, kind of, you know, ball this up. Since it is seam binding, it's, you know, perfectly fine. And just kind of clip that so that I don't accidentally like glue one underneath something because I'm not paying attention or that kind of thing. And we are going to do the same thing over here. And there we go. All right. So we are ready to get started. And I am going to start with figuring out what I want on my cover. And I really think I want this one. So this one is supposed to, of course, run landscape. We are going to turn it. So I'm going to get my glue. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this before I actually try and put it in my thing. I'm going to do it kind of, I'm going to use the same elements, but of course, because I'm turning it, I am going to kind of change how they go on here. me find some thin foam tape. Because of course that's one of the things with these little card kits. If you are just making cards, you know, you want to pop things up and give it some dimension. Okay. We're going to put that one up here across the top. And then we're going to, rather than having these, you know, run in a line, we are going to kind of stack them a little bit. We're going to glue this one down. Okay. So I kind of want, I want this one flat down on this bottom corner. So we're going to glue that one down here. I want this one kind of up here. And this one we're going to put some little piece of foam tape on the back. Like so. We've got flowers, and then I think we're going to add, we had hearts left. No. Let's see here. Okay, so I think I want that one. I'm going to put this one up here. I'm going to trim just a little bit off of this. I'm going to kind of do it. I'm going to poke just the tiniest bit of that edge underneath here. Okay. And then this one. And there we go. And this will now go on our cover. However, it does need to be inked a little bit more because it is the back of that envelope, which of course is bigger than our base, which is fine. So I'm just gonna kind of get around here a little bit more. I thought about maybe grabbing like a more muted red for this, but I think we're good like that. Okay. And so then that we're just going to glue right down on the front. Okay. Open it up flat so I can get it good and centered. And there we go. There is the cover of our little mini beginner junk journal, let's call it. I don't know. It's fun. It's different. It's a different way to use the card kit. So I will just continue in this fashion as I move through this. So I've got 7 more card fronts. I've got a pocket here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pocket, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so you've got a lot of space to fill up in here. So what I have typically done, so I've got my front, and then I will go through and go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I've still got some more in there. So I'll kind of spread out where I put the actual little card front pieces. And then I would typically take scraps at this point. Since I don't have scraps, I think I'm going to pull out the 6x8 pad because I did get 2 of those. So I'm not going to feel like I'm using something here that I'm going to want later because I do have plenty of that paper just for some of these other pieces. But let's look at this little envelope page first, and we'll see if I kept my little template I made myself last time, because I'm pretty sure I was using the same envelopes last time. I don't see it over here. I might have tossed it, and I sincerely hope not, but that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to move that over there. I've got a mess going on off camera, like always. We are going to cut the flap off of this. Oh, that was, how did I manage that? It must not have been sitting in there right. Holy crap. Well, that's a mess. But you know, it's okay because I don't need the back side of this. Okay, and then I am going to cut just a sliver off of the sides. Okay, I'm essentially cutting this back part of this envelope off so that I can use this piece as a template. I don't need this piece. You can toss it, you can save it. It's up to you what type of scraps you would like to keep. So now I have this as a template to mat the fronts of my envelopes. Okay, so let me grab the 6x8 pad as soon as I figure out where the heck I put my paper the other night. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Okay. So I am going to. Okay, typically I would do those last. I would typically, like I said, be doing this after the fact, but that's okay because I'm going to show you how to do this. And the 6x8 pad honestly is perfect for this because the prints are smaller and you can get a couple of mats out of one of these. So, well, if it's non-directional, this piece is directional on this side, so that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I will just lay this down on here and either cut directly around it or trace around it. Like so. And then when I cut it, I will cut just inside my lines. Okay. Like so. So now I can ink this if I want to, but I can glue this down over the top of my envelope. I can take this little piece here and stick it down in there to mat the inside of that if I want to. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to ink again. And normally I would ink blend better than this, but you know what? It's okay. It is just fine because this is one of those types of projects that you don't have to think really hard about. You don't have to, put a lot of time and effort into planning it because it can be a little bit messy, and that's okay. Which honestly is why I have been really on this kick lately with the junk journals, is because there's like, I don't know, there's like no rules, I guess. And it's fun to not have to, make everything perfect, if that makes sense. Okay, so there we go. we've got that matted. We've got a nice little pocket here that we could tuck in. If I hadn't apparently glued that too close to my edge there. Jeez, what did I do? Oh well, that's okay. Okay, so I am going to just keep recording and like speed it up. I'll stop it for anything kind of out of the ordinary. Um, Typically, and this is a huge reason why I don't typically record my matting, because I tend to I don't just like go front to back. I will hop all over the place, like just like nobody's business. Um, and Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of move through this, and anywhere that I think I need to kind of give you an explanation, I will. But at this point, it's literally just, putting your card fronts in here wherever you want to, and then just adding in other papers where it feels right. And this is too where it's kind of cool, like if you have cut aparts, if you've got because I know there's like there's like some journaling cut aparts in here on the 6x8, and there's some 3x4s in here, actually some really cute 3x4s. So I'll probably end up using those along with the kind of solids and patterns and things that are on the back sides. On some of them, I might just leave them blank. It just depends on how I feel at that moment. um, but yeah, so that's kind of the process. So let's keep assembling. Okay, so like on this one, we've got this little piece that says "so very sorry." I don't really want that in my project. Um, so I am going to use the "oh bother" just because it's cute and why not. I'm going to use little hearts, but I'm going to set this one aside in case I decide I can cover that So very sorry, up with something else or do something different. You saw in this one, I did swap this piece out for, I believe it was some flowers. I think I moved this to the top instead of the bottom. So like I said, I don't always do them exactly like they are on the directions. It's just kind of, it's up to you. What makes you happy with a project like this? Or if this is your first time doing something like this with one of these, then, you know, do what feels right in your heart. Okay, so like on this one, for example, we're supposed to have this piglet and this little a hug is always the right size. I'm not going to put these on here because this would be just a good journaling spot. So I'm going to put all of my little base elements on here, but I'm going to leave it like that. If I decide to come back later and add something like this, I can, but that one's ready to go. Let's talk about this one. So this is the one, like I said, that I was kind of trying to figure out how I was going to do this because it is most definitely too wide. So let's move those and let's find one of the envelopes. So if I do the envelope, of course, the envelope is wider. What I can do, if I wanted to, I could leave it hanging off the side, but because I've got my tie closure, I don't really want to do that either. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and put these two strips on. And then we're going to see if we can kind of put this at an angle or something where we don't really have to trim a bunch off. You could go ahead and put it in landscape. So you just, you know, when you get to that page, you turn your book sideways and go, oh my gosh, look how cute. You know, you got options. Do it however you think is going to look good and is going to work for your project. You may have turned the whole thing sideways, so you're flipping through it up and down as opposed to like a book. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so if I take it like that, and then I can do this down here, and I can do this up there, I think that's actually going to work. I kind of like it. So what I'm going to do is, let's not do that. I'm going to pop it up. Okay. Let's get one more little piece. Apparently throw our scissors again. Because I've been doing that a lot lately. I don't know why. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this at my angle, and then I'm going to flip it over and then trim it. And I like how that came out. That worked. That will work. I really kind of like how that came out. That's kind of cool. Okay, so we're going to put our two little strips on here. And then I think we're going to put that one right there. I need just like a tiny piece of foam tape on this so that it can kind of go up on the edge of that little picture piece. Like so. There we go. All right. And then, let's see. This little guy's supposed to go on there. I don't think I'm going to put him on there. I think I'm going to find a smaller one like this. There we go. We solved our problem. Okay, I think I need one more piece to mat with. And I think I'm actually gonna like kind of piece it, but I'm not positive yet. So I'm gonna do that one last. So at this point, I've got everything kind of figured out about where it's going. For the pattern pieces, because I was using the 6x8, I did just cut these to 4 by 5 3/8 so that they fit without it being like an issue necessarily. So yeah, at this point I can just finish gluing these in. And then come back through with our remaining pieces from our kit and decorate here and there and call it good. Nope, I missed that entire section right there, which I could just leave it. Maybe just add some decoration to it. I don't know. Maybe just add a cut apart and some scraps. Okay. This one, we're going to go about there. And we'll let that just kind of overlap a little bit. Yeah, I think that side. Okay. I'm going to ink that section in there. Oops. There we go. So as you can see, this does get chunky, which is absolutely fine. It's not like it's a traditional album where you don't want it kind of, alligatoring out like that. So it really is fine. If you wanted to do fewer pages, you could. If you wanted to do more pages, you could. It's entirely up to you. You could mix in other collections. Honestly, this would be super cute with the Say Cheese Classic Mouse mixed in. Would be super cute. Or, some other collection that kind of has these same tones, or, some flowers or something. However you would like to, personalize this for you. I'm gonna skip that one for right now. Just be careful because as you're gluing these card fronts on, they might hang over just a tiny bit on one side, which is fine. But just kind of be mindful of that so that you can still turn your pages. You don't want to get it in there where it doesn't want to turn. Okay, that one I'm going to leave uninked on the inside of that envelope. We're going to do this one. Which will, of course, cover up the back side of that envelope. And then I'm just going to kind of get some of those whiter edges a little bit. And get this one in. And then I think I've got like 4 pages I haven't cut a mat for, and we'll just kind of determine if we really want a mat on those or if we want to leave them as is. Like this one, I really kind of want to cut this down. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do, and just leave it with the white up above and below, because I really like this pattern that's on here. It's super cute. Oops. Get the ink pad, not your lid. Be helpful. Okay. And you could trim these down if you wanted to. Like, if you thought that it would be better to have more of a border around the edges, you could do that. You could trim those little card base pages down. There we go, good enough. Okay, so then I need something on my back. I've got all of these matted, so I need 1, 2, 3, 4 more mats. Okay, but what I can do, like on this one, because it's that envelope piece, I'm going to take this little piece that I cut off that's got that cute little silhouette on the bottom. And I'm going to put that one over here. Okay. And this one, I'm just going to cut down a tiny bit. And we're just going to go on the opposite side, like so, and call it good. Okay, and there's one more little section. All right, so this one I am going to piece. So we're going to go like this, and like this. So that needs to be slightly smaller. And nope, I think we're just going to do it that way. Oh, I could do it that way. Kind of like that, but you know what? Nope, we're going to go with my original plan. Okay. And again, so you're not, flipping along through this and then all of a sudden, boom, white. Which, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this is me being fussy. I don't know. It's fine. Okay, so we've got everything matted except our back cover. So the back cover, I would really like to figure out how I can use this page. So since that is the envelope outside, it's going to be a little bit different size-wise. So I've got 5 3/4 by, let's open this up. 5 3/4 by about 4 1/4. So we're going to go 5 5/8. And no wonder that felt weird. Let's do it this way. Okay. And that one will go in our back. I like it. Kind of ties it all together. And where I've got this little spot there, it's got like the tail end of those words on there. I could cover it up. I could leave it. I think I'm going to just leave it alone. So at this point, I can just kind of come in here and figure out what else, where I'm going to put the rest of my little leftover pieces from the card kit itself. So we'll add him there. We can do this here. And that will pretty much be the last little bit we're going to do. So here, I'm going to use my little Piglet chipboard we didn't use. And I'm going to put the little hug sentiment over here, since we didn't use those on the card front that they went on. And this is where I was, when I said you're going to have lots of extra pieces, this is how you use up those pieces. So like this one, we could go like so. Oh, I really like that actually. Do I want it on this or do I want it on? Nope, I think I like it on that one. Where were we? There we are. I was like, what page was I on? Not that it matters necessarily, but, and then we're going to put that little piece down here. There we go. This one I'm going to leave because it's got that cute silhouette on the bottom. And this is where like my, I don't like that there. Actually, we're going to do it just like that. This is where like the what was I going to say? I don't even know at this point. Okay, it's gone. It's gone. It's fine. Let's do a flower over here on this side. This is good the way it is. I don't think I'm gonna add anything there. This one, I'm gonna put this little like book plate looking piece up here. Let's see. Oh, I like that one. This is such a cute collection. Okay, so we're going to put our little chipboard Pooh and Piglet back here. And I still have pieces, so I could go back through again and add other pieces. I think I'm just going to finish off with some of my little tab pieces like so. Yeah, I've still got quite a few like small pieces. So, I might flip through. I'm not going to use this little so very sorry, although there we go. Cut off the so very sorry. And then we can find it a home. Aha, see? I knew I'd figure out a way to use that one. We're going to put that there with this piece. All right. All right, I like that. That's good. And this is why, like I said, I'm going back through, looking at, what else I can still use. Okay. This one I don't want to do anything to, I don't think. Except maybe that. Because that just brings in the color on the other side and just kind of ties it together. This one's good. If anything, maybe a flower. There we go. All right, I like it. There we go. Okay. I have bees I haven't used. So let's use them. Got like 3 of them here, 4 of them total. Kind of randomly put, oh, I've got 5 because I've got 2 little chipboard bees. That's why. All right. Other than his glue leaked out, which we do not want. See, look at that. There we go. Okay, so here, let's give Piglet some flowers. What else have we got? We've got a bunch of little hearts. I've got a thank you that I won't use. There's another little chipboard flower. So let's put him up there. We've got another little tab. I don't want to do anything there. Okay, I'm going to call it. I'm going to say we are done. So now I can get my ribbon out of this. Maybe. What did I do? Okay, there we go. All right. So we used all but just a few tiny elements of that entire card kit. Used almost half of the 6x8 pad, which is more than I intended, but you know what? This is why I bought 2 of them. So now at this point, I'm just going to figure out how long I need my ties to be, and then I can trim those off. Okay, which really, let's look at these hearts. Some of these bigger hearts. Let's see if I've got some. Oops. No, 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 no. It's not fall. It can go back to back or not. No, not really. Well, those two are okay. These are not really. So I was going to say I could put them, well, those two work kind of. Okay, so what I can do now is put the lid on the ink before I forget, and then it sits here for too long. Okay, I'm going to take and sandwich my ends between a couple of these little hearts. So those are finished off. And there we go. Easy peasy. And total, I have an hour and a half here, but of course I will speed up parts of this that, you know, where I'm just sitting here silently putting things together. But yeah, so there is our little mini kind of junk journal. We're gonna call it a junk journal, using a Simple Stories card kit. And that came out super, super cute. So as always, thank you for watching. There are links to everything that I used, except the envelopes, because I don't think those are for sale on Country Craft Creations, although the ones I used did come with my December daily kit from CCC. Links are in the description box below for everything that I used. They do, I do get a tiny commission at no cost to you when you use my affiliate links, so that is always appreciated, and that honestly helps keep my tutorials free. So, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.